Marked from the House of Night novel, A House of Night novel, PC Cast and Christian Cast are the authors. We're going to do chapter 1 today. Just when I thought my day couldn't get any worse, I saw the dead guy standing next to my locker. Kayla was talking nonstop in her usual K-babble, and she didn't even notice him. At first. Actually, now that I think about it, no one else noticed him until he spoke, which is tragically more evidence of my freakish inability to fit in. No, but Zoe, I swear to God, he didn't get that drunk after the game. You really shouldn't be so hard on him. Yeah, I said absently. Sure. Then I coughed. Again. I felt like crap. I must be coming down with what Mr. Wise, my more than insane AP biology teacher, called the teenage plague. If I died, would it get me out of my geometry test tomorrow? One could only hope. Zoe, please, are you even listening? I think he only had maybe 6 beers and maybe 3 shots. But that's totally beside the point. He probably wouldn't even have had hardly any if your stupid parents hadn't made you go home right after the game. We shared a long, suffering look. In total agreement about the latest injustice committed against me by my mom and the step-loser she'd married 3 really long years ago. Then, after barely half a breath, Kay was back with babbling. Plus he was celebrating. I mean, we beat Union. Kay shook my shoulder and put her face close to mine. Hello, your boyfriend? My almost boyfriend, I corrected her, trying my best not to cough on her. Whatever. Heath is our quarterback, so of course he's going to celebrate. It's been like a million years since Broken Arrow beat Union. 16. I'm crap at math, but Kay's math impairment makes me look like a genius. Again, whatever. The point is, he was happy. You should give the boy a break. The point is that he was wasted for the 5th time this week. I'm sorry, but I don't want to go out with the guy whose main focus in life has changed from trying to play college football to trying to chug a 6-pack without puking. Not to mention the fact that he's going to get fat from all that beer. I had to pause to cough. I was feeling a little dizzy and forced myself to take slow, deep breaths when the coughing fit was over. Not the K-babble noticed. Ew. Heath? Fat? Not a vision I want. I managed to ignore another urge to cough, and kissing him is like sucking on alcohol's feet. Kay scrunched up her face. Okay, sick? Too bad he's so hot. I rolled my eyes, not bothering to try to hide my annoyance at her typical shallowness. You're so grumpy when you're sick. Anyways, you have no idea how lost puppy-like Heath looked after you ignored him at lunch. He couldn't even... Then I saw him. The dead guy. Okay, I realized pretty quick that he wasn't technically dead. He was undead, or unhuman? Whatever. Scientists said one thing, people said another, but the end result was the same. There was no mistaking what he was, and even if I hadn't felt the power and darkness that radiated from him, there was no freaking way I could miss his mark. The sapphire blue crescent moon on his forehead and the additional tattooing of entwining work that framed his equally blue eyes. He was a vampire, and worse, he was a tracker. Well, crap. He was standing by my locker. Zoe, you're so not listening to me. Then the vampire spoke, and his ceremonial words slipped across the space between us. Dangerous and seductive, like blood mixed with melted chocolate. Zoe Montgomery, night has chosen thee. Thy death will be thy birth. Night calls to thee. Hearken to her sweet voice. Your destiny awaits you at the house of night. He lifted one long, white finger and pointed at me. As my forehead exploded in pain, Kayla opened her mouth and screamed. When the bright splotches finally cleared from my eyes, I looked up to see Kay's colorless face staring down at me. As usual, I said the first ridiculous thing that came to mind. Kay, your eyes are popping out of your head like a fish. He marked you. Oh, Zoe, you have the outline of that thing on your forehead. Then she pressed a shaking hand against her white lips, unsuccessfully trying to hold back a sob. I sat up and coughed. I had a killer headache, and I rubbed at the right spot between my eyebrows. At the spot right between my eyebrows. It stung as if a wasp had bit me and radiated pain down around my eyes, all the way across my cheekbones. I felt like I might puke. Zoe! Kay was really crying now and had to speak between wet little hiccups. Oh my god. That guy was a tracker. A vampire tracker. Kay, I blinked hard, trying to clear the pain from my head. Stop crying. You know I hate it when you cry. I reached out to attempt a comforting pat on her shoulders, and she automatically cringed and moved away from me. I couldn't believe it. She actually cringed, like she was afraid of me. She must have seen the hurt in my eyes because she instantly started a string of breathless K-babble. Oh my god, Zoe, what are you gonna do? You can't go to that place. You can't be one of those things. This can't be happening. Who am I supposed to go to all our football games with? I noticed that all during her tirade she didn't once move any closer to me. I clamped down on the sick, hurt feeling inside that threatened to make me burst into tears. My eyes dried instantly. I was good at hiding tears. I should be. I'd had 3 years to get good at it. It's okay. I'll figure this out. It's probably some bizarre mistake, I lied. I wasn't really thinking. I was just making words come out of my mouth. Still grimacing at the pain in my head, I stood up. Looking around, I felt a small measure of relief that Kay and I were the only ones in the math hall. And then I had to choke back what I knew was hysterical laughter. Had I not been totally psycho about the geometry test from hell scheduled for tomorrow, and had run back to my locker to get my books, so I could attempt to obsessively and pointlessly study tonight, the tracker would have found me standing outside in front of the school with the majority of the 1,300 kids who went to Broken Arrow South Intermediate High School, waiting for what my stupid Barbie clone sister liked to smugly call the big yellow limos. I have a car, but standing around with the less fortunate who have to ride the buses is a time-honored tradition. Not to mention an excellent way to check out who's hitting on who. As it was, there was only one other kid in the math hall, a tall, thin dork with messed-up teeth, who I could unfortunately see too much of because he was standing there with his mouth flapping open, staring at me like I'd just given birth to a litter of flying pigs. I coughed again, this time a really wet, disgusting cough. The dork made a squeaky little sound and scuttled down the hall to Mrs. Day's room, clutching a flat board to his bony chest. Guess the chess club had changed its meeting time to Mondays after school. Do vampires play chess? Were there vampire dorks? How about Barbie-like vampire cheerleaders? Did any vampires play in the band? Were there vampire emos with their guys wearing girls' pants weirdness and those awful bangs that covered half their faces? Or were they all those freaky goth kids who didn't like to bathe much? Was I going to turn into a goth kid? Or worse, an emo? I didn't particularly like wearing black, at least not exclusively. And I wasn't feeling a sudden and unfortunate aversion to soap and water. Nor did I have an obsessive desire to change my hairstyle and wear too much eyeliner. All this whirled through my mind while I felt another little hysterical bubble of laughter try to escape from my throat, and was almost thankful when it came out as a cough instead. Zoe, are you okay? Kayla's voice sounded too high, like someone was pinching her, and she'd taken another step away from me. I sighed and felt my first sliver of anger. It wasn't like I'd asked for this. Kay and I had been best friends since 3rd grade, and now she was looking at me like I had turned into a monster. Kayla, it's just me. The same me I was 2 seconds ago, and 2 hours ago, and 2 days ago. I made a frustrated gesture towards my throbbing head. This doesn't change who I am. Kay's eyes teared up again, but thankfully her cell phone started singing Madonna's Material Girl. Automatically, she glanced at the caller ID. I could tell by her rabbit in the headlights expression that it was her boyfriend, Jared. Go on, I said in a flat, tired voice. Ride home with him. Her look of relief was like a slap in my face. Call me later, she threw over her shoulder as she beat a hasty retreat out the side door. I watched her rush across the east lawn to the parking lot. I could see that she had her cell phone smashed to her ear and was talking an animated little burst to Jared. I'm sure she was already telling him I was turning into a monster. The problem, of course, was that turning into a monster was the brighter of my two choices. Choice number one, turn into a vampire, which equals a monster in just about any human's mind. Or choice number two, my body rejects the change and I die. Forever. So the good news is that I wouldn't have to take the geometry test tomorrow. The bad news was that I'd have to move into the House of Night, a private boarding school in Tulsa's midtown, known by all my friends as the Vampire Finishing School, where I would spend the next 4 years going through bizarre and unnameable physical changes, as well as a total and permanent life shakeup. And that's only if the whole process didn't kill me. Great. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do either. I just wanted to attempt to be normal, despite the burden of my mega-conservative parents, my troll-like little brother, and my oh-so-perfect older sister. I wanted to pass geometry. I wanted to keep my grades up so that I could get accepted into the veterinarian school at OSU and get out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. But most of all, I wanted to fit in, at least at school. Home would become hopeless, so all I was left with were my friends and my life away from my family. Now that was being taken away from me too. I rubbed my forehead and then messed with my hair until it semi-covered my eyes and with any luck the mark that had appeared above them. Keeping my head ducked down like I was fascinated with the goo that had somehow formed in my purse, I hurried towards the door that led to the student parking lot, but I stopped short of going outside. Through the side-by-side windows and the institutional-looking doors, I could see Heath. Girls flocked around him, posing and flipping their hair, while guys revved ridiculously big pickup trucks and tried, but mostly failed, to look cool. Doesn't it figure that I would choose that to be attracted to? No. To be fair to myself, I should remember that Heath used to be incredibly sweet. And even now, he had his moments. Mostly when he bothered to be sober. High-pitched girl giggles flitted to me from the parking lot. Great. Kathy Richter. The biggest hoe in school was pretending to smack Heath. Even from where I was standing, it was obvious she thought hitting him was some kind of mating ritual. As usual, clueless Heath was just standing there grinning. Well, hell, my day just wasn't going to get any better. And there sat my Robin's Egg Blue 1966 Volkswagen Bug, right in the middle of them. No, I couldn't go out there. I couldn't walk into the middle of all of them with this thing on my forehead. I'd never be able to be a part of them again. I already knew too well what they do. I remembered the last kid a tracker had chosen at SIHS. It happened at the beginning of the school year last year. The tracker had come before school started and targeted the kid as he was walking to his first hour. I didn't see the tracker, but I did see the kid afterwards, and just for a second, after he dropped his books and ran out of the building, his new mark glowed on his pale forehead and tears washed down his two white cheeks. I never forgot how crowded the halls had been that morning, and how everyone had backed away from him like he was the plague as he rushed to escape out of the front doors of the school. I'd been one of those kids who had backed away, out of his way, and stared, even though I felt sorry for him. I just hadn't wanted to be labeled as that one girl who's friends with those freaks. Sort of ironic now, isn't it? Instead of going to my car, I headed for the nearest restroom, which was thankfully empty. There were 3 stalls. Yes, I double-checked each for feet. On one wall were 2 sinks, over which hung 2 medium-sized mirrors. Across from the sinks, the opposite wall was covered with a huge mirror that had a ledge below it for holding brushes and makeup and whatnot. I put my purse and my geometry book on the ledge, took a deep breath, and in one motion lifted my head and brushed back my hair. It was like staring into the face of a familiar stranger. You know, that person you see in a crowd and swear you know, but you really don't? Now she was me, the familiar stranger. She had my eyes. They were the same hazel color that could never decide whether it wanted to be green or brown. But my eyes had never been that big and round. Or had they? She had my hair, long and straight and almost as dark as my grandma's had been before hers had begun to turn silver. The stranger had my high cheekbones, long, strong nose, and wide mouth. more features from my grandma and her Cherokee ancestors. But my face had never been that pale. I'd always been olivish, much darker skin than anyone else in my family, but maybe it wasn't that my skin was suddenly so white. Maybe it just looked pale in comparison to the dark blue outline of the crescent moon that was perfectly positioned in the middle of my forehead. Or maybe it was the horrid fluorescent lighting. I hoped it was the lighting. I stared at the exotic-looking tattoo. Mixed with my strong Cherokee features, it seemed to brand me with a mark of wildness. As if I belonged to ancient times when the world was bigger, more barbaric. From this day on, my life would never be the same, and for a moment, just an instant, I forgot about the horror of not belonging and felt a shocking burst of pleasure, while deep inside of me the blood of my grandmother's people rejoiced. Chapter 2. When I figured that enough time had passed for everyone to have left school, I flopped my hair back over my forehead and left the bathroom, hurrying to the doors that led to the student parking lot. Everything seemed all clear. There was just some random kid wearing those seriously unattractive gang wannabe baggy pants, cutting across the far end of the lot, keeping his pants from falling down as he walked. Baby, thank you. Keeping his pants from falling down as he walked was taking all his concentration. He wouldn't even notice me. I gritted my teeth against the throbbing pain in my head and bolted out at the door, heading straight for my little bug. The moment I stepped outside, the sun began to batter me. I mean, it wasn't a particularly sunny day. There were plenty of those big, puffy clouds that looked so pretty in pictures floating around the sky, semi-blocking the sun. But that didn't matter. I had to squint my eyes painfully and hold my hand up as a make-believe sunblock against even that intermittent light. I guess it was because I was focusing so hard on the pain the ordinary sunlight was causing me that I didn't notice the truck until it squealed to a stop in front of me. Hey, Zoe, didn't you get my message? Oh, crap! It was Heath. I glanced up, looking at him from between my fingers like I was watching one of those stupid slasher movies. He was sitting on the open tailgate of his friend Dustin's pickup truck. Over his shoulder, I could see into the cab of the truck where Dustin and his brother Drew were doing what they were usually doing, wrestling around and arguing over God knows what stupid boy thing. Thankfully, they were ignoring me. I glanced back at Heath inside. He had a beer in his hand and a goofy grin on his face. Momentarily forgetting that I'd just been marked and was destined to become an outcast, blood-sucking monster, I scowled at Heath. You're drinking in school? Are you crazy? His little boy grin got bigger. Yes, I am crazy. About you, baby. I shook my head while I turned my back to him, opening the creaky door of my bug and shoving my books and backpack into the passenger seat. Why aren't you guys at football practice? I said, still keeping my face angled away from him. Didn't you hear? We got the day off because of the ass-kicking we gave Union on Friday. Dustin and Drew, who must have been kind of paying attention to Heath and me after all, did a couple of very oaky woohoo and yeah yells from inside the truck. Oh, no, I must have missed the announcement. I've been busy today. You know, big geometry test tomorrow. I tried to sound normal and nonchalant, then I coughed and added, plus I'm getting a crap cold. So really, are you pissed or something? Like, did Kayla say some shit about the party? You know, I didn't really cheat on you. Huh? Kayla had not said one solitary word about Heath cheating on me. Like a moron, I forgot, okay, temporarily, about my new mark. My head snapped around so I could glare at him. What did you do, Heath? Zoe? Me? You know I wouldn't, but his instant act and his excuses faded into an unattractive, open-mouthed look of shock when he caught sight of my mark. What the? He started to say, but I cut him off. Shh! I jerked my head in the direction of the still clueless Dustin and Drew, who were now singing at the top of their lungs, at the top of their totally tone-deaf lungs, to the latest Toby Keith CD. Heath's eyes were still wide in shock, but he lowered his voice. Is that some kind of makeup thing you're doing for drama class? No, I whispered, it's not. But you can't be marked. We're going out. We are not going out. And just like that, my semi-reprieve from coughing ended. I practically doubled over, hacking a seriously nasty, phlegmy cough. Hey, Zoe, Dustin called from the cab. You gotta lay off those cigarettes. Yeah, you sound like you're gonna cough up a lung or something, Dustin said. Dude, leave her alone. You know she don't smoke. She's a vampire. Great, wonderful. Heath, with his usual total and complete lack of anything resembling good sense, thought he was actually standing up for me as he yelled at his friends, who instantly stuck their heads out the open window and gawked at me like I was a science experiment. Well, shit. Zoe's a fucking freak, Drew said. Drew's insensitive words made the anger that had been simmering somewhere inside my chest ever since Kayla had cringed from me bubble up and boil over. Ignoring the pain the sun caused me, I stared straight at Drew, meeting his eyes. Shut the hell up. I've had a really bad day, and I do not need this crap from you. I paused to look from the now wide-eyed and silent Drew to Dustin and added, or you. And as I kept my eye contact with Dustin, I realized something that shocked and weirdly excited me. Dustin looked scared. Really scared. I glared back at Drew. He looked scared, too. And then I felt it. A tingling sensation that crawled over my skin and made my new mark burn. Power. I felt power. Zoe, what the fuck? Heath's voice broke my attention and pulled my gaze from the brothers. We're out of here, Dustin said, throwing the truck into gear and stepping on the gas. The pickup lurched forward, causing Heath to lose his balance and slide with a windmill of arms and flying beer onto the blacktop of the parking lot. Automatically, I rushed forward. Are you alright? Okay? Heath was on his hands and knees, and I bent down to help pull him to his feet. Then I smelled it. Something smelled amazing. Hot and sweet and delicious. Was Heath wearing new cologne? One of those weird pheromone things that were supposed to attract women like a big genetically engineered bug zapper? I didn't realize how close I was to him until he stood up straight and our bodies were almost pressed together. He looked down at me, a question in his eyes. I didn't back away from him. I should have. I would have before, but not now. Not today. Zoe, he said softly, his voice deep and husky. You smell really good. I couldn't stop myself from saying. My heart was pounding so loud that I could hear its echo in my throbbing temple. Zoe, I've really missed you. We need to get back together. You know, I really love you. He reached out to touch my face, and both of us noticed the blood that smeared the palm of his hand. Ah, shit. His voice closed off when he glanced at my face. I could only imagine what it must look like with my face all white, my new mark blazingly outlined in sapphire blue, and my eyes staring at the blood on his hand. I couldn't move. I couldn't look away. I whispered. What did I want? I couldn't put it into words. No, that wasn't it. I wouldn't put it into words. Wouldn't say out loud the overwhelming surge of white-hot desire that was trying to drown me. And it wasn't because Heath was standing so near. He'd been close to me before. Hell, we'd been making out for years. For a year. But he never made me feel like this. Nothing ever like this. I bit my lip and moaned. The pickup truck squealed to a halt, fishtailing beside us. Drew jumped out and grabbed Heath around the waist and jerked him backwards into the cab of the truck. Knock it off! I'm talking to Zoe! He tried to struggle against Drew, but the kid was Broken Arrow's senior linebacker and truly ginormous. Dustin reached around the truck around them and slammed the door to the truck. Leave him alone, you freak, Drew yelled at me as Dustin floored the truck, and this time they really did speed off. I got into my bug. My hands were shaking so hard I had to try 3 times before I got the engine started. Just go home. Just get home. I said the words over and over between wretched coughs as I drove. I wouldn't think about what had just happened. I couldn't think about what had just happened. The drive home took 15 minutes, but it seemed to pass in the blink of an eye. Too soon I was sitting in the driveway trying to get ready for the scene I knew, sure as lightning follows thunder, was waiting inside for me. Why had I been so eager to get here? I suppose I hadn't technically been all that eager. I suppose I'd just been escaping from what had happened in the parking lot with Heath. No, I wasn't going to think about that now, and anyways, there was probably some kind of rational explanation for everything. A rational and simple explanation. Dustin and Drew were recharged. Totally immature beer brains. I hadn't used a creepy new power to intimidate them. They'd just been freaked out that I'd been marked. That was it. I mean, people were scared of vampires. But I'm not a vampire, I said. Then I coughed while I remembered how hypnotically beautiful Heath's blood had been, and the rush of desire I felt for it. Not Heath, but Heath's blood. No, no, no. Blood was not beautiful or desirable. I must be in shock. That's it. That had to be it. I was in shock and not thinking clearly. Okay, okay. Absently, I touched my forehead. It had stopped burning, but it still felt different. I coughed for the zillionth time. Fine. I wouldn't think about Heath, but I couldn't deny it anymore. I felt different. My skin was ultra-sensitive, my chest hurt, and even though I had my cool Maui Jim sunglasses on, my eyes kept tearing up painfully. I'm dying, I moaned, and then promptly clamped my lips shut. I might actually be dying. I glanced up at the big brick house that, after 3 years, still didn't seem like home. Get it over with. Just get it over with. At least my sister wouldn't be home yet. Cheerleading practice. Hopefully the troll would be totally hypnotized by his new Delta Force Black Hawk Down video game. Ew? I might have Mom to myself. Maybe she would understand. Maybe she would know what to do. Ah, hell. I was 16 years old, but I suddenly realized that I wanted nothing as much as I wanted my mom. Please let her understand, I whispered a simple prayer to whatever god or goddess might be listening to me. As usual, I went in through the garage. I walked down the hall to my room and dumped my geometry book, purse, and backpack on my bed. Then I took a deep breath and headed, a little shaky, to find my mom. She was in the family room, curled up on the edge of the couch, sipping a cup of coffee and breathing chicken soup for a woman's soul. She looked so normal, so much like she used to look, except that she used to read exotic romances and actually wear makeup. Both were things her new husband didn't allow. What a turd. Mom? She didn't look up at me. I swallowed hard. Mama. I used the name I used to call her back in the days before she married John. I need your help. I didn't know whether it was the unexpected use of Mama or if something in my voice touched an old piece of Mom intuition. But she still had something inside of her. Intuition she still had somewhere inside her. But the eyes she lifted immediately from the book were soft and filled with concern. What is it, baby? She began. Then her words seemed to freeze on her lips as her eyes found the mark on my forehead. Oh, God. What have you done now? My heart started to hurt again. Mom, I didn't do anything. This is something that happened to me, not because of me. It's not my fault. Oh, please, no. She wailed as if I hadn't said a word. What is your father going to say? I wanted to scream, how the hell would any of us know what my father was going to say? We hadn't seen or heard from him for 14 years. But I knew it wouldn't do any good, and it always just made her mad when I reminded her that John was not my real father. So I tried a different tactic, one I'd given up on 3 years ago. Mama, please, can't you just not tell him, at least for a day or two? Just keep it between the two of us until we, I don't know, get used to it or something. I held my breath. But what would I say? You can't even cover that thing up with makeup. Her lips curled weirdly as she gave the crescent moon a nervous glance. Mom, I didn't mean that I'd stay here while we got used to it. I have to go, you know that. I had to pause while a huge cough made my shoulders shake. The tracker marked me. I have to move to the house at night, or I'm just going to get sicker and sicker, and then die. I tried to tell her with my eyes. I couldn't actually say the words. I just want a couple of days before I have to deal with... I broke off so I didn't have to say his name, this time purposefully making myself cough, which wasn't hard. What would I tell your father? I felt a rush of fear at the panic in her voice. Wasn't she the mom? Wasn't she supposed to have the answers instead of questions? Just tell him that I'm spending the next couple of days at Kayla's house because we have a big biology project due. I watched my mom's eyes change. The concern faded from them and was replaced by a hardness that I recognized all too well. So what you're saying is that you want me to lie to him? No, Mom. What I'm saying is that I want you, for once, to put what I need before what he wants. I want you to be my mama. To help me pack and to drive with me to this new school because I'm scared and sick and I don't know if I can do it all by myself. I finished in a rush, breathing hard and coughing in my hand. I wasn't aware I had stopped being your mom, she said coldly. She made me feel even more tired than Kayla had. I sighed. I think that's the problem, Mom. You don't care enough to be aware of it. You haven't cared about anything but John since you married him. Her eyes narrowed at me. I don't know how you can be so selfish. Don't you realize all that he's done for us? Because of him, I quit that awful job at Dillard's. Because of him, I don't have to worry about money, and we have this big, beautiful house. Because of him, we have security and a bright future. I'd heard these words so often I could have recited them with her. It was at this point in our non-conversations that I usually apologized and went to my room. But today I couldn't apologize. Today I was different. Everything was different. No, Mother. The truth is that because of him, you haven't paid any attention to your kids for 3 years. Did you know that your oldest daughter has turned into a sneaky, spoiled slut who screwed half the football team? Do you know what nasty, bloody video games Kevin keeps hidden from you? No, of course you don't. The two of them act happy and pretend to like John and the whole damn make-believe family thing. So you smile at them and pray for them and let them do whatever. And me, you think I'm the bad one because I don't pretend. Because I'm honest. You know what? I'm so sick of my life, and I'm glad the tracker marked me. They called that vampire school the House of Night, but it couldn't be any darker than this perfect family. This perfect home. Before I could cry or scream, I whirled around and stalked back to my bedroom, slamming the door behind me. I hope they all drowned. Through the two thin walls, I could hear her making a hysterical call to John. There was no doubt that he'd rush home to deal with me. The problem. Instead of sitting on the bed and crying like I was tempted to do, I emptied the school crap out of my backpack, like I'd need it where I was going. They probably didn't even have normal classes. They probably have classes like ripping people's throats out, 101, and intro to how to see in the dark. Whatever. No matter what my mom did or didn't do, I couldn't stay here. I had to leave. So what did I need to take with me? My 2 favorite pairs of jeans besides what I had on. A couple of black t-shirts. I mean, what else do vampires wear? Plus, they are slimming. I almost passed on my cute aqua-colored sparkling cami, but all that black was bound to make me more depressed, so I included it. Then I stuffed tons of bras and thongs and hair and makeup things into my side pouch. I also left my stuffed animal, Otis the Shish. Couldn't say fish when I was 2, on my pillow, but well, vampire or not, I didn't think I could sleep very well without him. So I tucked him gently into the damn backpack. Then I heard the knock on the door, and its voice called me out of the room. What? I yelled, and then I convulsed in a bout of nasty coughing. Zoe? Your mother and I need to speak with you. Great. Clearly they hadn't drowned. I patted Otis the Shish. Otis, this sucks. I squared my shoulders, coughed again, and went out to face the enemy. And the next video will be chapters 3 and 4. Have a nice night.